And hi and welcome to the Techno Dinosaur meets the IT Geek. Another series, another video, fun and entertainment. My name is David Logan, the IT Geek. I am based in Annan, southwest Scotland. As the IT Geek, I take the jargon out of technology for you, the homeworker. With me this week is my partner in crime, Willie Nicol. So Willie, how are you and where are you?
Thank you, David. I'm very well, thank you. My name is Willie Nicol. I am the Techno Dinosaur due to being technologically challenged. However, I'm also a personal development life coach. I am based near Troon, South Ayrshire, Scotland, UK.
Fantastic, Willie. This week's question. I want to refer to a program I used to watch. I think it was every Saturday afternoon in my teens. But I can always remember a guy getting laid out and before they put him onto a helicopter and flew. It was B.A. Baracus. To the viewer, can you remember the A-Team? B.A. Baracus, he had a big fear of flying. But Willie, the question is, what is the fear of flying and how do we overcome it without being laid flat out?
Yes, I do remember that programme, David, and I do remember the character who was always tricked into flying by some subterfuge, generally involving being drugged. However, that's a humorous element to it. Fear of flying is relatively common. Depending on which definition you use, it's either aerophobia or aviophobia. I'll go with aerophobia, A-E-R-O phobia, funnily enough as an aeroplane, like aeronaut, whatever. And you won't be surprised to hear that I've done a wee bit of online research to look up some figures. So 40% of the population have some degree of fear of flying, but that doesn't prevent them from actually flying. So it's not that serious, stops them going on a plane. However, 2.5% of the general population have what we call a clinical phobia, where the thought of flying terrifies them. Right, so 2.5% of the general population have a sufficiently high level of fear of flying that they won't go on a plane because it really upsets them. The irony of it is we go back to our old friend, the fight or flight syndrome. And to use the word flight when talking about fear of flying is quite ironic in my view. So these people with a chronic case of aerophobia, right, will fight before they go on a plane, or they'll run away, or they'll freeze. So it's a bit like the fight or flight syndrome. However, this is quite an irrational fear because if you look at the statistics, which I'm just about to quote you, travelling by air is extremely safe. There is an average of one fatality for every 287 million passengers who fly. Compare it with a 1 in 19 million chance of being struck by lightning and killed, or a 1 in 17,000 chance of being killed in a car accident. So rationally, flying shouldn't hold any fears, being statistically proven it's one of the safest modes of transport. However, phobias and fears in general don't go down the rational route. Now, how do we get a fear of flying? It might be that we've seen other people scared of flying and we have absorbed that fear, maybe parents, siblings, or whatever. Perhaps we've seen something on a movie or on the TV about a plane crash, and that has generated a fear. Maybe we've got a fear of heights. So the thought of flying is only exacerbated by these things. One other element of fear of flying is some people have the fear that they're not in control, a loss of control, because you are now sitting in a big metal cylinder with perhaps 200 other people 30,000 feet above the ground. Now, if you're in a car, you've got control because you've got the steering wheel. No, that's up to the pilot of the plane. If you're on a train or a bus, you're at ground level. So if anything goes wrong, you can get out and walk away, hopefully. Not so much on a plane. One client who came to me for a fear of flying, I said, what is about flying that scares you? And he said, well, I'm not scared of flying. I'm scared of crashing. Now, that was said half flippantly, but that was always in the back of his mind. Now, people who are that apprehensive about flying, but want to go on holiday, for example, to sunnier climes, they will take medication, generally tranquilizers. They will self-medicate with alcohol. Anything to get them through that fear, to walk up the steps, sit down in the seat, and take part in the flight. I wouldn't recommend that, because if you're so out of your face when you're on the plane and something does happen, it's not a really good state to be in. However, that is essentially what fear of flying is. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Great. Fantastic.
Now, how you overcome that, there are many and varied ways. You can go onto the internet, type in fear of flying, and come up with all sorts of solutions, which range from, there are courses you can go on, run by airlines and other agencies, which teach you about flying, like the aeronautics, how this big lump of metal actually gets off the ground, explain to you the mechanics of it, explain the statistics that I've just said about the safety element, and explain in a rational manner why you don't need to be afraid of flying. However, if that still doesn't cut the mustard, so to speak, you can come to a therapist, a coach like me, for hypnotherapy or other counselling. Cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, is also useful in overcoming it. So that's when we're not appealing to your rational mind, it's safe, here's the way it works, and so on. We're looking at the irrational, subconscious fear you have and addressing that. So there are ways to overcome it, and I would urge anyone who has this fear of flying, of whatever degree, to look into that. And I do have a little help guide that I can send you, and you can post on the website.
Great, Wally. Fantastic. Great. Very interesting subject. And as you say, the fears are, it's like the rest of the fears, it's just getting over it, doing it. There is a hypnotherapy and other methods to over it, so that's great. Good. So, to you, the viewer, if you have the fear of flying, or you know somebody, speak to my friend here, Wally Nickel. He'll sort you out, and we'll be good. So, for now, please stay safe, be healthy. To you, the viewer, have a great week, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you, David. By all means, get in touch with me if you're having problems with thinking about flying, and hopefully in the not too distant future, that will now become an option for us after lockdown. Only remains for me to say, Wally Nickel, the Techno Dinosaur and coach, that stay safe, folks, keep well, and try and have some fun along the road. Bye for me.